Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all good? I hope so. Y'all listen, you know where we left off at with Monica? She broke it off with Lewis because she got real nervous when Nate almost caught them at the restaurant. So that just really threw her off. So, she broke it off with Lewis. And so Nate think, he back up in that thing, right? But you never win when you play dirty. All right? So let's get into it. After Monica broke it off with Lewis, he been trying to call her nonstop because he really didn't understand why she ended it the way that she did. He knew that she was having second thoughts after almost getting caught, but when he mentioned, that chance of them being together, he just knew that he saw her considering it before she told him that it wouldn't work. He picked up the phone again to call her, but hung up before it rang all the way through because he knew that he was coming off as a stalker. And Lewis asked himself, why was he even acting like that? Was it the job, the money, his new lifestyle? And he knew that was part of it, but the biggest part of it was Monica. She was such a wonderful woman. He didn't know if it was love, but he knew that he thought about her all the time. He missed her when they weren't together. He loved how he felt when she was around him, and he just couldn't imagine his life without her. And to know that she was going back to a man who really didn't care anything about her really infuriated Lewis. But instead of calling Monica a zillion times, Lewis knew that he needed to prepare for the repercussions that he just knew were about to come his way from Mr. Kenny after he saw him pounding it to his wife. Lewis was surprised that he hadn't heard from Nate because that man was heated looking at Lewis drill into his wife like that. He could see it all over his face, but it was still so crazy to Lewis that Nate was so pissed off when he was the one who set it all up. The next morning, Lewis went to the bank and withdrew all the money that Nate had paid him, so far, because Nate seemed like the kind of dude who would close the account. And Lewis, he had a little over $13K. So he put that in a safe place. Okay. So Lewis wondered if Nate knew that Monica had ended things with him. He knew the only way to find out, he was going to have to call Nate. When Nate answered the phone, Lewis acted like he had just discovered that things were off between him and Monica. Mr. Kenny, something happened. Things aren't going well with your wife. She told me that she didn't want to see me again. I realized something had happened. Nate took a long pause, then said, how long have you been effing my wife? What did you say? You heard what I said. And don't lie, because I have proof. I have photos. I don't know, maybe a week. But Mr. Kenny, listen, no, there's really nothing more for you to say. I need to speak to you face to face. I'll call you back later with the time and the place. So a couple of hours later, Nate called and told Lewis to meet him on the empty 63rd Street lot at 10 p.m. Lewis was already there when Nate pulled up, and he saw him step out of his car, and Lewis did the same. And Nate was walking toward him with a briefcase. Lewis tried to explain and tell Nate that he didn't know what happened and that he hadn't spoken to Monica in days. Nate told him that he no longer had to worry about that. Then he opened the briefcase and pulled out a plain brown envelope that contained Lewis's last week's pay, which Nate said that he doubled since Lewis did such a good job. What do you mean my last week? I thought you said you needed photos. I have what I need, Lewis. All you need to worry about now is packing up your things and getting up out of my house in the next 3 days. Leave the Cadillac in the garage with the keys on the living room table, and you can keep the phone if you want it. I can have it transferred over to your name. Thank you, Mr. Waters, and have a nice life. No, the job is not over. But I just told you that it was. Well, I'm not ready for it to be. You may not want to hear this, but I have developed feelings for your wife. So, I know she has feelings for me too, and I'm going to continue seeing her whether you like it or not. And Nate couldn't do nothing but laugh. And what makes you think that she'll want to be with you? You ain't got no money. You're a nobody. Well, your wife didn't think that when I was going deep enough to tickle her belly button, when she was screaming how much she loved this You remember that, Nate? Now, this was the first time that Lewis had ever called Nate by his name. And that really pissed Nate off because why are you calling by my name? And why are you talking about my wife like that in front of my face? Listen, you can do what you want, but you'll be doing it from the street because I'm evicting you. This time, Lewis burst out laughing and said, sorry, Nate. I've been kicked out of too many places to know that you have to give me at least 10 days. Nate knew that Lewis was right, so he said, fine, but you'll walk back to the house. Give me the keys to the Cadillac while holding out his palm to get the keys back. Take them from me. Nate sized Lewis up, and even though he was confident that he could take him, they were on top of an empty lot. He was not about to stoop to Lewis's level. He had everything going for him, and Lewis had nothing. He would just have to do something that would make Lewis go away forever so that he could live peacefully with his wife without Lewis interfering. Okay, so that's how you want to play it? Then I'll play. What do you want? I already told you. Your wife. Besides her. Listen, Lewis, I just gave you $10,000. Add that to the 15 I already paid you. You have $25,000. And I'll give you another 25 if you just forget all about this and disappear. And if it's a woman you want, I know one who will love you. Her name is Tori. She's very attractive and she used to work for me. Nate. You just don't get it. What I want is Monica. And you don't have enough money to give to me to make me change my mind. At this point, Nate had had enough. He walked up and stood in Lewis's face and told him, now you get this straight. I tried to play your little game, but hear me when I say this, boy. You don't want to F with me. I got pull in this city. And if you want to enjoy standing up by yourself, you'll do as I say and leave. Oh, so is that a threat, Nate? You could take it however you want it. Alright, come after me and I'll tell Monica everything. Well, that'll hurt you just as much as it will hurt me, and you know it. 'Cause do you really think she would want to be with someone who took money to sleep with her? You know better than that. Just be a good kid and take the money and walk. 'Cause you were nothing but a toy to my wife. That's what she played with until her real man came back. Well, we'll just have to see about that, Nate. And Lewis turned to walk back to the Cadillac, very unbothered. The next morning, Lewis called Selena, but he didn't get an answer, so he left a message letting her know that he was coming by to see baby Layla. He grabbed some clothes, then jumped in the shower. But no matter how many different ways he turned the knob, the water was freezing. He thought it was the pilot light, so he went to the basement, but when he flipped the switch, nothing happened. So he went through the house flipping switches and nothing. Nate had turned off the electricity, and as Lewis stood there frustrated, he all of a sudden took off running. He was going to the garage to see if Nate had taken the Escalade, and he was hoping that he hadn't gotten to that yet. And thankfully, he hadn't. So Lewis threw on some clothes, jumped in the truck, and headed to Selena's. Lewis ran up to Selena's door because he was worried. He had been calling her over and over and over again, and she wasn't answering. He knocked on the door, waiting for her to answer, but she didn't. And he was about to knock again until Selena opened the door and peeked out at him. What are you doing here? You ain't calling nothing. Lewis immediately noticed that there was something strange about her. He told Selena that he wanted to see his daughter, but she said that she was asleep. He wasn't liking how Selena was looking or sounding, so he pushed his way in. She was trying to close the door before he could get in, but she wasn't strong enough. Lewis was on the way to the room until something caught his eye. He looked over at the coffee table, and spread out across it was a belt, a lighter, a needle, and a burned tablespoon. He went over to the table and picked up the belt and said, "What the F is this? What is this? Is this a whole vial I'm looking at? Answer me, Selena. What the F is this?" "Be quiet. You're gonna wake the baby." Selena didn't even seem like she was in the room with Lewis, let alone the same universe. "You doing this stuff again, Selena? Really? Is this where all the money was going? Answer me." I needed something to help me get through what I had to do to make the money. I told you you shouldn't have started effing those men again. Louis hated that Selena had reverted back to this lifestyle, but he couldn't let that get in his way. He knew that he could not let his baby continue to stay there, even with Selena being her mama. So he pushed Selena out of the way and got baby Layla out of the crib. He told her to do whatever she wanted to do with her life, but she wasn't going to be doing it around his daughter. He headed for the door, but before he could reach it, he heard Selena scream. Then she ran over to him and started swinging on him and trying to grab the baby. Louis was trying to protect the baby to keep her from getting hurt. Then Selena started pulling at Louis's leg and pulling at the baby leg. Give me my baby! You ain't taking my baby! Selena, stop! You're going to hurt her. Give her to me before I call the police and have you thrown in jail. She was still pulling Louis and the baby. And Louis finally said, okay, stop before you hurt her. He gave the baby to Selena and she grabbed her and started kissing her all over the face. Louis was so hurt. He didn't want to leave his baby there, but he told Selena that he was coming back. She can bank on it. Louis left Selena's apartment and went straight to the Department of Children and Family Services. He was telling the receptionist that he needed someone to go get his daughter right now. Mr. Waters, I wish we could help you right away, but you'll have to speak to a social worker. But I'm speaking to you. This is an emergency. I can't wait. My baby can't wait. The woman stopped walking and pointed to a group of women in the reception area. Do you see all of these women? They have emergencies too. But guess what? They had to wait to see a social worker. Okay? Louis waited 3 hours to finally speak to someone. He told them the whole situation, filled out a lot of paperwork, and asked the social worker if she would go get his daughter. We should be able to get someone out there tomorrow or the next day at the latest, but my daughter can't wait that long, Mr. Waters. There's nothing more that I can do. We will get out there as soon as we can. Now, over at the store, Monica was preparing to leave. She pulled a purse from under the counter, then she grabbed her phone to see if she had missed any calls. When she opened her phone, she couldn't believe it. Tabitha, come here. You need to see this. She had 15 missed calls from Louis. Tabitha asked her if she was going to listen to any of the messages, but Monica said that she was going to delete them and wished that he would just leave her alone. Tabitha looked towards the door and said, I think you're going to have to wish a little harder. Monica looked up and Louis was walking in. He didn't even look like himself. No more suits. He didn't seem as carefree as he usually did. He looked anxious, almost frantic. He walked over to Monica and told her that he really needed to talk to her. And he told her that he needed her help and that there were some things that he needed to tell her. Louis, you can't be here. My husband will be here in a minute to pick me up. You gotta go. You just have to call me. But I have been calling you, but you haven't been returning my calls. So why should I believe what you say? Just believe me, Louis. Now you have to leave, please. Monica was about to push Louis out of the store, but then the store's door opened and it was Nate. Monica froze, almost pissed on herself. Hey, Nate, Tabitha said very casually. Hi, Tabitha. Nate walked in between Tabitha and Louis and gave his wife a kiss on the cheek. Monica was trembling. That baby was so scared. Baby, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. It's just been a long day, just ready to go home. Are you ready, honey? She started pulling Nate towards the door, but he stopped and asked her if she was going to introduce him to her friend. Monica looked over at Tabitha pleading for help. Tabitha grabbed Louis by the arm and said, This is Luther, my new man. Luther, this is Nate, Monica's husband. Really? Nate extended his hand to Louis and said, Nice to meet you, Luther. Yeah, you too. Okay, well, Tabitha, we're going to get up out of here. See you and Luther later. And as they were approaching the door, Louis said, Maybe all of us can have dinner sometime. I'm sure we probably have a lot in common. And he stared right at Nate when he said it. Monica didn't know what all that was about, but she dragged Nate right on up out of there before he even had a chance to respond. After Monica and Nate left the store, she was so flustered, and Nate could tell that something was wrong with her, so he asked her if she was feeling okay. Monica said she was fine, but she just had, stuff on her mind. So Nate suggested that he take her home to get some rest and he'll go out and get them something to eat. So they made it home. He put Monica to bed and he was about to go get them some dinner, but not before he took Monica's phone out of her purse. Then he headed on to the restaurant. When he opened her phone, he saw several calls from Lewis. So he knew that Lewis was prepared to tell Monica everything. The phone was on silent, so he turned on the ringer and he was startled when it started ringing. He looked at it and it was Lewis, so Nate answered it. Monica, there is something that I have to tell you. Lewis was so caught off guard when he heard Nate say, so the warnings I gave you weren't enough. Lewis, I told you to leave my wife alone, and I'm not going to tell you again. Listen, she's going to find out, and no, I can't leave her alone. By this time, Nate had made it to the restaurant, and he said, fine, have it your way. Then he hung up on Lewis, threw the phone to the ground, and shattered it to pieces by stomping on it. He gathered up the pieces and threw them down a drain. Nate was pissed. He knew Lewis was trying to push his hand, so now he had to get serious. Even though he didn't want to, but he wasn't going to let Lewis mess up what he had just, gotten back with his wife. So about an hour later, Nate went over to Tim's and told him to step outside because he needed to talk to him. Tim could tell that Nate seemed a little bit off and he asked him what was going on. She was effing him, Tim. Wait, how do you know that? Because I have photos and I saw it. I walked in on them. Dang. But, hey, wait, ain't that why you hired him? Listen, that's besides the point. But me and Monica are doing better. We've been talking. You told her? No, we're just getting better and we've been intimate again. Then just tell Lewis that he's fired and that it's over. I've tried that, but he's in love with her and gonna have the nerve to tell me that he was gonna keep seeing my wife whether I like it or not. Wow. You need to tell her, Nate. Just go ahead and put everything out there because the way it sounds, things aren't gonna get any better. Well, that's not gonna happen. We are still in a delicate space and we have a chance to get better. And I've tried everything when it comes to Lewis, but now I need your help. Forceful help. Forceful help? If you talking about jumping this man in order for him to leave Monica alone, you should have just kept driving because I'm not about to do that. But this may be the only way to get him to leave her alone. Leave us alone. It may be, but I ain't doing it. You the one who came up with this dumb tail scheme anyway. You hired him to sleep with your wife. And since he has done exactly what you paid him to do and enjoyed it, and you said that he has fallen in love, which is something you should have known would have happened, you now want to put the pause on the man? Well, do whatever you want to do, but I don't want no pause of it. So you won't even do it for me? Your own brother? Exactly. You don't know what might happen. Any of us could get severely hurt, even him. You need to just come clean to your wife because you're losing it. Then Tim turned to walk back into the house and Nate said, how many times have I helped you pay your mortgage? Gave you money here and there and you won't help me? I busted my tail to build this company and now I'm trying to save it and you won't even help me? Nate, cut the This has nothing to do with your company, but it has everything to do with you being a coward. Instead of you telling your wife how you felt, you come up with this ignorant plan to have a dude that you met on the street sleep with your wife. And now that things aren't going the way that you want them to go, you want to beat the brakes off the man? Nah, you on your own. And like I've told you several times before, you need to tell Monica everything. So Nate leaves Tim's house and he gives, Monica her food. Then he told her that she should take tomorrow off. She said that she really could use the time off. And when she said that, Nate told her, well, if that's the case, how about we just make reservations for the Bahamas or something and we could leave the day after tomorrow. That could give us, time to, keep rebuilding. See if you could take the whole week, like a week or two. Monica said that it sounded nice, but she didn't think that her job would appreciate her taking off with such a short notice. Nate told her if they didn't like it, then just quit because she never had to work that job anyway. Monica smiled at Nate and said, "Okay, let's do it." When Nate got to work the next day, he made a couple of phone calls to some people who knew some people. Later on that night, he was standing in some bushes with three other dudes who were game to put them paws on somebody for the right amount. Nate went over the plan to make sure they understood why they were there. He told them that he had a key and they could just walk in and do it there. He just needed to make sure that Lewis was home. After a few minutes, he saw Lewis pass by the window. Nate gave the guys the signal to move, but just then Lewis came outside. He locked the door and he started walking down the street. Once he got a few steps ahead, Nate gave the guys the signal again. Before Lewis realized it, they were up on him. One of them caught Lewis across the head and knocked him down. Then they started dragging him into an alley. Once they got him back there, he tried to stand on to his feet, but one guy kicked him in the face so hard it busted his lip and he fell to the ground. Lewis looked up in the street light. The street light allowed him to see the four big dudes that were standing around him wearing all black and ski masks. He asked them why were they doing it, but they just closed in on him and commenced to whooping their eats. When it was all over, the men stepped back so that Nate could get a better look, because they were beat the brakes off of Lewis. They was doing it so good that Nate really didn't have to do much. Nate walked up and he wasn't expecting Lewis to look that bad. One of his eyes were swollen shut, his lip was split, bleeding out both sides of his mouth, and the pieces of clothes that he still had on his body were covered, just blood red. Nate almost felt sorry for Lewis, but if he would have listened to Nate in the first place, Nate felt like he wouldn't have to be put in that position. Nate was about to walk away until he saw Lewis open his good eye. Then he kneeled down and said, "This is what happens when you refuse to listen. For next time, it's going to be some slow singing and flower bringing." Then Nate peeled back his mask so that Lewis could see his face. Then all the guys walked off, leaving Lewis in the alley. While Nate was out there putting the paws on Lewis, Monica was at home thinking about the trip that her and Nate were about to take. She thought that it was a really good idea. It would help her and Nate to start getting their marriage back in order, and it would allow things between her and Lewis time to cool off. Monica, she was just sitting there flipping through channels when the phone rang. It was Tim. "Monica, is Nate there?" "No, I'm sorry, Tim. He said he had to wrap up some things with that client he was working with." "Okay, well, I need to talk to you, but not over the phone." Monica was a little hesitant, but she agreed. "Meet me downstairs now. I'm parked outside of your building." They drove about 20 minutes out, and Tim parked on a dark street so they couldn't be seen. "Monica, what I'm about to tell you will be shocking, but Nate wouldn't tell you, so I'm going to tell you. Nate knows you're cheating. He knows everything. He knows that you were seeing that man Lewis, and he knows that you slept with him." Monica couldn't believe what she was hearing. She tried to speak, but couldn't. Then finally she said, "How?" "Because he set the whole thing up. He hired Lewis, paid him, and told him everything he needed to know to get close to you." So back over there with Lewis in the alley, he was going in and out of consciousness. He didn't know where they had come from. He was on his way to try and call Monica, and before he knew it, they got him. Once he was able to finally get up, he staggered all the way home, thankful to see that they hadn't taken the Escalade. He got in the best he could and took himself to the emergency room. The doctor told him that nothing was broken, but he was bruised all over. He had a lot of scars, cuts, and scratches all over his body. His ribs were badly bruised, so they had to be taped, and they put a patch over his eye. The doctor gave him a prescription and told him to take it easy. But Lewis couldn't do that, so the next morning when he was released, he called DCFS to see if anyone had gone to get his daughter, but they gave him the same answer. Lewis was tired of hearing, "We get out there as soon as we're able," so he hung up in the lady's face and drove over to Selena's. Once he got there, it took him a minute to get out of the truck. He was trying to take it as easy as he could. But as he was walking, he thought he heard a baby crying. He started to walk a little faster, and there was a baby crying. His baby. He started pounding on the door, calling out for Selena, but there was no answer. He peeked through the window, and he could see Selena's legs, so he was wondering, what is she doing in there? So he knocked again and yelled her name. This time, baby Layla cried louder, and that scared Louis. He tried pulling at the bars on the window, but something told him try the door. He did, and it opened right up. When he walked in, baby Layla was laying in her mama's lap. Eyes were red and puffy. He walked a little closer, and Selena was slumped back on the couch. Her head was thrown back, mouth partially open, and she was looking up at the ceiling. Louis rushed over to get his daughter, and then he saw the belt loop around Selena's bicep and the thing dangling out of her vein. Louis stood over her and started tapping her lightly and calling her name. Baby Layla started crying even harder and looking up at her and looking up at her father, who was also crying, and the baby was looking at him as if she knew that her mama was gone. He tried shaking her one more time because he did not want to believe that she was gone. But when he let her body go, it just fell back on the couch, lifeless. And he knew then that she was really gone. So with Monica, she over there thinking about everything Tim told her last night. From Nate planning the entire thing because he was pissed off at her because she couldn't have any kids, to him taking those tablets so that he couldn't get it up. Monica wanted Tim to drive her to Nate's office so that she could put hands on him. Tim also told her that Nate said that he saw her and Louis getting it in, but she didn't know how he could see her until she thought about where they were and the position that she was in. Monica dropped her head. She felt dirty and filthy. She almost felt sorry for Nate, but she stopped that emotion because he was the one who set it all up, because he planned it all. The next morning, Monica was still thinking about what Tim told her. She was just laying there and kind of happy that she hadn't said anything to Nate yet, because she still needed to figure out what she was going to do with all of the information. She felt Nate lean on the bed and she quickly closed her eyes. He kissed her on the cheek and told her that he loved her. She continued to lay there with tears in her eyes, just thinking how much he really had to hate her to put all this together. She realized that he wasn't in this by himself. Louis was too. So Monica jumped up, grabbed her phone, and called Louis, but she got the same message that she got the last time about his phone being disconnected. But she knew she wasn't about to let him get off that easy. She thought about all the times Louis told her how crazy he was about her, that she could leave her husband for him. What was all that about? Was he just saying those things because he was getting paid? She didn't know, but she sure was going to find out. She threw on some clothes, grabbed her purse and keys, and headed over to Louis's house. When she got there, she started banging on the door, telling him to open this door right now. It took him longer than usual to come to the door, but she knew he was there because she saw him peek out the blinds. She couldn't wait until he opened that door because she was going to give him a piece of her mind. She hoped that she didn't put no hands on him. When he finally opened the door, Monica couldn't believe what she saw. She couldn't even speak. His face was swollen, his lips split, he was bruised up, a patch over his eye, and he was holding his side. Louis limped back and let her in. What happened? Louis just told her to have a seat, but Monica said that she wasn't there to sit down. She asked him again what happened, and he quickly said he did not want to talk about it. Monica was thinking it probably wasn't a good time to be bringing this to him, but just because he was in pain, that didn't take away everything he had done to her, and she was starting to think that the beating he got had something to do with it. So Monica told him since he didn't want to tell her what happened, she had something to talk to him about. And Louis stopped her and said, "Not before I say what I have to say." To Monica's surprise, Louis told her everything, even how it all started, and that Nate was threatening to sue him if he didn't do it, and that he didn't want to at first. Louis told Monica how he became attracted to her as soon as Nate gave him the photos, and that he was sincere. He confessed that he had fallen in love with her. In love with me? Monica didn't know what to think after all Louis had done to her. Do you have any feelings for me? You have no business asking me that. After what you did to me? After taking money? It wasn't all about sleeping with you, Monica. I needed that money. For what? Did you need money that freaking bad that you were willing to ruin someone's marriage? Answer me. Louis said yes. I did need it that bad. Then all of a sudden, the sound of a baby crying could be heard coming from upstairs. Monica looked in that direction, then she turned back to Louis and asked, what was that? The reason I needed the money. So, over there with Nate, he was so happy with himself, child. He was certain that he had taken care of Louis. And since he was so happy, he didn't go to work. He went to True Home Adoption Agency to find out if little Nathaniel was still available. He knew that his wife would be so happy. Nate didn't know why he wasn't open to this idea at first, but he didn't want to think about that. He said that he was just going to be happy that it wasn't too late to save his marriage. After filling out the paperwork and waiting on Mrs. Walcott to come back into her office about an hour later, he found out that little Nathaniel was still available. Now going back over there with Louis and Monica, Louis took Monica up to the nursery. Monica looked in the crib and saw the prettiest little brown angel with marble-shaped eyes and a head full of black curly hair looking right back at her. As they walked closer, baby Layla stretched out her hands for them to pick her up. Can you pick her up? It hurts when I try to, And Louis started pointing at his side. Monica didn't want to, but she did. Then Louis said that he wanted to take her somewhere. He took her to the Ida B. Wells projects and told her that he lived there with baby Layla's mama, but now she's DAD. Monica gasped. He was like, yeah, I found her early this morning. This morning? Yeah, she OD'd. I don't know if it was a mistake or was it on purpose, but I do know that she wasn't very happy with her life. I just don't know. Maybe she's better off now. She doesn't have to live with so much pain and trauma. Maybe she's at peace. I don't know. When they pulled back up at the townhouse, Louis asked Monica if she could come back in because he wanted to give her something. He gave her a brown envelope and told her that it was the money that Nate had paid him. He said that he did take some out so that Selena could take care of his daughter and that he had paid Selena's rent up for the year, so there would be less things that she had to worry about because she was dealing with so much. Why are you giving me this? Why are you giving this to me? Because I don't want it. It was wrong for me to take it. I love you, Monica, and I hope you forgive me. Forgive you? You thought that? I was with Selena because she had my baby, but she wasn't a good woman. But you're everything I could ever want. I've never met anyone like you. Your husband paid me to sleep with you because you couldn't have kids and he didn't want to have any of his money taken. He didn't even think about the possibility that I will fall in love with you. Louis, you shouldn't be saying all of this. Yes, I should. Because when I walked into that house and saw Selena on that couch, I knew that we didn't have but one life and my child shouldn't have to live without a mother. What are you trying to say, Louis? All types of emotions were running through Monica's mind. She couldn't believe that this man thought that he could do what he did to her and believe that she would want to be a mother to his child or even be with him. I want us to be together. What I did was wrong, and I admit that. You can't have kids, but you want them. You're holding a baby right now who needs a mother. Louis walked closer, told Monica that he loved her, and hugged her while she was holding the baby. And baby Layla was just laying her head on Monica's shoulder. Monica was enjoying it for a minute, but then she got angry that Louis would try to use his baby and the fact that she couldn't have one to cover up all he had done to her. She told him to take the baby because that was not her child and he wasn't her man. The only reason you're saying all of this is because you're broke and you need someone to watch your daughter. That's not true, and you know it. What are you going to do? Go back to a husband who doesn't want you, Monica? I love you. We need you. And when he said that, a million images flooded Monica's brain to them being a family, her being a mother, but then she opened the door and left. Monica went home and started packing. She heard the door of the penthouse open and Nate walked in with a huge smile on his face and told her that he had some surprises for her. Monica just leaned against the back of the couch. She couldn't believe how he could have orchestrated all that he had and not pretend like it never happened. And even though he did plan everything, Nate nor Lewis forced her to do anything. She could have turned Lewis down and waited and hoped that her marriage would get back on track, but she didn't. She committed adultery. And wasn't that just as bad as what her husband did? Wasn't it even worse? Nate reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out 2 tickets to Barbados, which was their favorite spot, and he got their favorite room facing the North Shore. Monica was still looking at him, contemplating whether she should leave him or just keep her mouth closed. If she did that, she would still have a marriage, husband, and things could get back to normal. Monica felt herself leaning in that direction, but then she thought, what would happen when he wanted kids again? Because that's what sparked all of this. At that moment, Monica realized that she couldn't stay with Nate. She was about to tell him that, then Nate said that he had another surprise for her. He handed her some paperwork and told her to open it. As soon as Monica opened it, she recognized the letterhead from the adoption agency. I went to True Home Adoption Agency this morning to see if little Nathaniel was available, and he was, honey. And I started the process. We're going to have a son. He gave Monica a big hug. Aren't you happy? Yeah. Monica heard the word seek from her lips, and she was happy, but at the same time, she was sad because this new information made her decision even harder. Nate looked at her and asked her what was wrong because she was crying, and Monica didn't even realize it. He said, I know, it's because of all these surprises and us getting back on track. I understand, sweetheart, but from this moment forward, everything is going to be perfect between us. He let go of her and grabbed the handle of her suitcase and said that they were going to take her bags to the car because they didn't want to be late to the airport. Monica was still standing there thinking that she could just tell him that she knew everything and retain whatever dignity she had and let him know that he couldn't just treat her any kind of way just because she couldn't have his babies. She wasn't a reproduction machine, and she knew that she would receive so much satisfaction from that. But what would she have after that? Nothing. And that's why Monica told Nate that she was ready to go to the airport, and Nate was excited. She watched as the man she would spend the rest of her life with, the same man who booked this beautiful vacation and started the adoption process, walking towards the door so happily. It was the same man who paid someone to seduce her. The same man who took tablets to keep himself from getting it up. She remembered the first time Nate said that he would divorce her, when he painted the nursery black, and when he left her standing in the living room in her birthday suit when all she wanted was to be close to her husband. She even remembered the look he gave her when she was trying to steal his goodies, and when he looked up at her and said, why would you want me to come in you? What good would that do? What would come of that? The words still stung. She knew then what her decision had to be. Nate was about to walk out of the door when Monica said, Nate, wait. We aren't going to make it to the airport in time, honey. Nate, we're not going to the airport because I know what you did. I know everything. Nate dropped the handle on the suitcase, and it was clear to him that the jig was up. Then 3 weeks later, Monica stood in the checkout counter at the grocery store. She kept her eye on the total to make sure she had enough to cover it. That'll be $52.56. Wow, food is getting expensive, isn't it? Can I write a check? Oh, yes, ma'am, you can write a check. Monica wrote the check, wrote the amount in the back, and rolled her basket out of the store. She knew that it was going to be tight all week. It started raining, so she popped the umbrella and started walking briskly to her 91 Saab that she was now driving. She popped the hatch, and when she grabbed one of her bags, she heard a voice say, times ain't like they used to be when you're no longer married to a millionaire. Monica looked around, and it was a woman standing behind her. Who are you? And what did you just say to me? The woman extended her hand and introduced herself. Hello, my name is Tori Thomas. I used to be your husband's secretary. Do you mind if we talk? The rain was falling harder, and Monica told the woman, sure, if she helped her get her groceries in the car. They quickly threw the bags in the car, and then they ran around and jumped in. You were a hard person to find. I've been looking for you. I don't know if you knew this or not, but me and your husband, we were having an affair. Monica felt like she should have been shocked, but she wasn't. She asked Tori why was she telling her that now. I would have told you sooner, but like I said, I had to find you first. You found me, so if there's nothing more, I really want to get home before my ice cream melts. Well, there is. I know how much your husband has hurt you, but he hurt me too. He was going to marry me after he divorced you. He wanted me to have his children, but that never happened. He fired me after he made those promises. Okay, are you expecting me to feel sorry for you? Like, get out of my car. Mrs. Kenny, please, just hear me out. There's a reason I'm telling you all of this. After he fired me, I called him and told your husband I could still make his life difficult. I told him that I needed to meet with him to talk. So when we met, we got it in one last time. I had him to explain to me why we couldn't still be together or get married. I still don't understand how this has anything to do with me. I was videotaping everything we did, everything we said. I have it all here on tape. Tori dug in her purse and pulled out a brown padded envelope. Here is yours. Why are you giving this to me? You're going through a divorce right now, right? And I figured that Nate probably doesn't have to pay you a dime because you had an affair and he has photos. You know about those? I'm the one that had them taken. You had them taken? You're the reason why I won't be entitled to anything, but you're trying to give me this tape? Well, technically, you're the reason you won't be getting anything because you had an affair. Nate was going to get the pictures taken himself. He was just taking too long for me. But what I want is exactly what I hope you want. He can prove that you cheated with those photos. And now you can prove that he cheated with this tape. I would imagine that will offset each other, right? And then the divorce will proceed like a normal divorce. And you get everything that you're supposed to get. I see. And I'm guessing you'll want some of that. And you guess right. And what I want most of all is for that piece of to get what he deserves. So yeah, I do want a little something for my efforts. How much? Just 10%? 5%? 7.5%? Monica reached out her hand and her and Tori shook on it and had a deal. 2 months later, Monica was heading north on Lakeshore Drive to her new $1 million home. As she was driving, a thought crossed her mind, but she shook her head telling herself that the idea was stupid. But in the last minute, she turned the wheel of her new Jaguar and made the exit. It took her a minute to remember how to get to where she was going, but a moment later, she was sitting in front of the Ida B. Wells apartments. Monica parked her car. She was trying to find the nerve to go up and knock on the door, but she was asking herself, why would she do something like that? Was it because she was lonely, or was it because she never got Lewis out of her system, or maybe she just had sympathy for him? Thinking back, Monica knew she'd probably be in a similar situation if it hadn't been for Tori. And because of her, Nate was forced to give her half. When Nate heard half, you would have thought he was about to pass out. But Monica decided that she didn't need that much. She took a fourth and a percentage in the stock. And even with that, she wouldn't have to work another day in her life. Monica looked toward Lewis's door again and thought about his daughter, wondering how she was doing, what kind of mother she would have been to the little girl. But she told herself to stop being ridiculous. Lewis was an amazing man who could take care of his own daughter. And with how handsome, loving, and caring he was, he probably found some eager woman to do it by now. All of a sudden, Monica saw Lewis coming out of the apartment with baby Layla in a stroller. When he looked up, he stared right into her eyes. He smiled. Monica smiled back. He waved her over, and Monica got out and ran over to them. She wasn't sure what would happen to the three of them, but she had a good feeling about it. A really good feeling. And there it is, y'all. That's it. That is the end of the $1 Million Divorce, baby. 59 chapters down in 10 parts. We did that thing, didn't it? Y'all got to get in the comments and tell me what y'all think about this part. What do you think about it overall? I also created a new channel. It's called the Narrated Recaps. I will put a link in the description box because I needed to separate this type of content from my regular content because of YouTube's algorithm. And I hope that you all will go over there and follow it because we're going to continue the rest of these type of stories over on that channel. And if you didn't know, this is a trilogy. So there's 3 parts, but he created another part. R.M. Johnson did. We'll see about that one, but over on the new channel, the Narrated Recaps, we're going to pick up with the $1 Million Deception. So y'all get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And thank y'all for even giving this series a chance. Okay. And I'll talk to y'all later.